Hi there and welcome back to the channel. Today on the bench is a Sony C5 UB Betamax video recorder. I've just travelled about 45 miles north of Manchester to go and collect this in a place called Darwin. Picked it up, just got back, haven't tried it at all. This was a model which Sony produced, I think from 1980, something like that. 1980, 81, something like that. It was the very last of their top-loading machines. The better machine than this was the Sony C7, which I featured on my channel. I did have one of these back when I was in, I think in my late teens. I picked one up from somewhere, and it wasn't particularly healthy. And I've seen them going on eBay for lots and lots of money, usually quite broken. The sellers seem to want to get gold out of muck. This actually was quite reasonable. So let's have a look at this heavy beast and see what it's about. So it's a early 80s machine. Not many features, but let's have a look. So it's a top-loading machine. We've got the clock on, standby, timer buttons. You've got a little flat stuck there. There we go. So we've got various clock functions here. These buttons usually just die. Look on my channel for C7 and you'll see that actually I replaced a lot of these buttons, and it shows you how to. But yeah, they're normally dead. So you've got eject, rewind, stop, play, fast forward. Rewind and fast forward, actually physically put them into rewind and fast forward without picture search. You've got record, you've got pause, and then you have picture search, but it's only in black and white. Now these, I remember these you always used to break these buttons here when they're pushed too hard. Audio dub back in the day was really useful if you'd actually created your own content using a video camera and wanted to dub over some music or something like that, and that was used. On the C7 there would have been a slow-mo and 2x speed, but this doesn't have that. Still picture on off, so you can actually physically switch it off. So if you press pause, it would actually show the picture, or it would just go blank. Quite unusual. Remote dim plug on the front. It's difficult to see down here, but there's tracking, microphone, input select, and another DIN style socket for the camera. Counter at the top here. Memory on and off. Let's have a look underneath here. So one of the key differences between the C5 and C7, not only was it its facilities in terms of, like, the C7 had still frame, picture search in color, slow-mo, 2x speed, was that the tuner here was mechanical and not digital. The C7 had a digital one. So you have a mechanical tuner, RF tuner here, test signal, AFT on and off, so if you there's advanced fine tuning, something like that. So yeah, it's pretty basic, and most TVs of the day had this type of. Here we've got the buttons for the tuner. Again, on the C7 it was in all digital, but yeah, there we go. And you can, I believe you can actually open this and you can get to these the names here. I think you can, yeah, there we go. You can pull them out and you can put your own ones or rearrange them. And you can actually tell this is pre-1982 because in the UK we had BBC One, BBC Two, ITV1, so 3 channels, and then the 4th channel, Channel 4, only came on in 1982. So this was all made pre-Channel 4, which was, and that started in 82 in April, September, something like that. So yeah, so there's the picture search button. And down here, if you can see it, again, camera, input select, so you can choose whether use the RF or the composite connections or the camera. Tracking over here, that's centered up. And then there's a power button just over on the side here. So let's have a look at the back of the machine. On the back it's very simple. Power lead, voltage selector and fuse, because you could put this onto 110 volts if you wanted to. It does 110, 127, 220, and it also does 50-60 hertz, because in Japan they have two different frequencies. One, I think the top island is 50 and the bottom is 60, or vice versa, I'm not sure. Here we've got video in and out, audio in and out. That's BNC and RCA plugs. We've got the RF in and out, and you can also tune the tuner on this to output on a certain channel on UHF. Otherwise, there's pretty much nothing on the back here. In terms of condition, this looks a bit like it's got wet at some point. In fact, actually, if I show you, it's got some marks here, but the seller did say that it actually powered up and did stuff. The only damage to the entire machine is a corner taken out just here of that. I might try and get another one if the machine's worth it. Yeah, and I said that let's just have a quick look at inside here. You've got, again, things like clock set. You can select dim or bright for the clock on the front, and this is where you would set your timer. I don't think it was it wasn't a sophisticated timer, and you would select again which days of the week and all sorts of stuff like that. Really basic, simple timer. So when I bought this, the pictures online showed it actually physically on, so I do know that power has been applied to this, but I don't know how good the machine is in terms of actually has it got all the functions. So what we'll do is we'll plug it in and let's turn on. Things should, if I just do that, there we go, that should come on, and if I just make that brighter, there we go. So it does power up. We've got 9.8 watts, something like that. So if I press eject, oh, hang on, I'm going to press on, takes to 33 watts, it's a bit higher. There's the eject. Looking inside, I can see that the drum looks actually quite clean. So what I'm going to do is I've got a tape of Captain Scarlet here. It's not a great tape, but let's see what happens. So with VHS, when you put the tape in the machine, nothing generally happens, but with Betamax it automatically laces. So when I close the drawer, here we go. Sort of. That sort of worked. I can tell you right now that actually that really struggled to get to the end of lacing the tape up. There, it's better. So if we just exercise it a little bit. And so yeah. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to show you, rather than press play right now, I'm going to actually take the top off this and let's actually watch the mechanism as it loads. So that's the damage that's happened on this. So I think it's been done for some time actually. Let's take this cover off. So here's the video drum here. We've got this ring that goes round the drum itself. So when the tape goes in, this ring will rotate round, and that's the pinch roller there, and that will rotate all the way around and lock in down here. This is the audio control head, the ACE, they call it ACE. That actually reads the pulses from the tape to actually synchronize the video, as well as also the mono audio. We've got here at the tape tension arm. This here again is the carriage. This is, you can't take this out without pull that up without the power being applied. So let's just put the power back on. Let's have a look at what happens. So power is there. This is the mechanism that actually rotates this ring. You can take the whole ring out actually. I've done that on a good few machines, but it's all belt driven. So let's put the tape in, and there we go. That seems happier. So if we then take that out again, press eject, there we go. That first one I did felt quite sluggish, but this is actually seems to be coming alive again. Now the interesting thing is I can actually see there's quite a bit of head wear. Now I can hear you saying, well, why can't you use that? Well, you could, but these things tend to, once they've been used a few times, they tend to actually have crap and dirt, and you'll just simply transfer the dirt back onto the tape. So they need a full clean. So you take the tape out and you can wash this. Some of these, this is a fine material, which is better than most. Some are just, it's like a paper. But that could be refurbished and then reused. But I tend not to use these things. I can't feel the heads. I want to actually physically clean it, and a much better way of cleaning even VHS heads. So a really good way of cleaning a video head is a piece of paper. You tear off a square like that, and then you then get some isopropanol, which I've got some here. Wet the paper, so we'll just do, there we go, that'll do. Just put a bit on that, doesn't matter, it'll dry off, and find a space where the tips aren't. Put it up against the head, very light pressure. Keep your finger very still, sorry, your thumb very still, and move the video head past. Now I can feel those heads, and those heads are awful. As you can see, there we go. And again, you can, the only space here for me to actually clean it is on this side. Put it up against the drum, then spin the drum. Those head swab things on sticks, I just don't like them. I actually prefer to use this. It's far more delicate on the heads, and you can also feel the heads as well, so you know what the how good the heads are. Right, okay, I'm going to plug it into the TV and tune it in. Let's see what the picture looks like. Actually, no, I'm not. I've just noticed how dirty and cruddy everything is there. I think I'm going to give this a good clean. There we go. The tape is quite old and crappy. I don't mind if it... So yeah, that's just the first one. That is really quite dirty. From this, that there has probably transferred a whole load of crud from machine to machine whenever it's been used. Wow, this is really bad. This is one of the worst ones I've seen in a long time. Wow, there's just so much junk. So, let's turn this round and see what type of picture we get. So, machine is powered up. This is tuned in. So that's all tuned in okay. Let's put a tape in. Let's press play, see what we get. Let's turn the audio down. We don't get anything. No, we're not getting anything at all. Oh no, here we go. Right, okay. So we've got... We do have a picture, but when it's playing, it's out of alignment. So I think somebody's been playing around with this. Yeah, the ice block, the actual audio control head. So I think we've got alignment issues with the guides. Oh, a bit of colour. I know it's gone. I think somebody has been playing around with the guides on this. Picture's pretty reasonable. Yeah, there we go, look. It's entirely tracking. You can see at the moment it's in black and white, but you get a flash of colour and then it'll blank out, and that's all entirely down to tracking. Oh, there we go, look. Oh, I'm not touching it. And that rolling of those noise bars is down to the ability for it to actually pick up the control tracks. There's something else going on as well. That flashing with those, that's not necessarily normal in terms of, that's not to do with the tracking. My gut is to actually let it play. I think the control heads are really dirty. So what I'm going to do is so the block over here, which gets the audio. Let's see whether we get audio. Do we get audio? So what we're trying to do is actually clean up this block here. So you've got the tape guides that actually pull the tape into the block itself. Now either the block has been fiddled around with, and the height and the angle at which the posts here, which actually can keep the block in place, have been fiddled with. So what I am going to do is I'm going to see whether a good hard scrub of that. It is absolutely filthy. It might just be dirt, so it's not getting a good clean control track to help the video head align to the magnetic tracks on the tape. It's just absolutely filthy in there. So let's see what happens when I put that in and press play. I'm getting very, very little. It's trying to. We're definitely getting somewhere with it. We're getting colour demod again. So it started to track the tape nicely. The tracking is centred. We've got a picture, and it's actually quite a good one. Let's see if I can tune the TV in better. That ain't bad. I think I'm going to let this run for a while, and let's see how well it gets on. Let it run. Let's do a bit of Star Trek on there. I'm sure this is all to do with dirt on the control head. Let's let this run for a while and see what picture we get at the end of it. Right, give it another clean. Let's see how it gets on. It's certainly playing better. A whole ton of Q-tips and so forth. I think this really just needs to run. Okay, so I have opened up the bottom of the video recorder. I have run it for quite a few hours, and the picture's getting better and better. The sound's a little bit rubbish, but we'll get to that later on. So here we have the capstan, and that seems to be absolutely fine. That's the sensor to detect whether it's actually running or not. This is the video drum motor, and that actually directly drives the reels over here. We've got lots and lots of switches and relays and bits and pieces. This is quite a mechanical deck compared to many other ones. This is all to do with the loading here. So we've got the loading, which is actually attached to the capstan. So that runs separately, and that actually comes from the motor down here. There's a motor literally just behind here on the other side, so that one motor drives both the loading and also the capstan. This board here looks a little curved, which usually means that actually there might be some dodgy solder joints on there. It does happen whenever the boards start warping, it causes problems. So one of the golden rules with a lot of Sony, vintage Sony stuff, is that if you see any capacitors that colour in the screen, replace it. These little Sanyo capacitors are absolute junk. There's one there, there's one there, and there's another one just there. So yeah, they are pretty junk, and so I'm going to see whether I can replace those right now. Yeah, I might have something for that one. I think this one's a really tiny one here, so I'll do those 3 and get those done, as well as see whether I can actually replace the I've got spares for the belts, but yeah, this is all really loose. But yeah, otherwise it's actually quite clean inside. I don't think this was used that much, so right, let's see what I've got in terms of beltage. I have an appalling mess of belts here. It's basically remains of old belts and bits and pieces, and I generally try to keep things unless they're absolutely ruined. So what I've got to do is I've got to find a belt that actually is about that size. So let me just go and find that right now. So I've got a belt here. It's a little bit smaller than the other one, and that I think will work quite nicely. So that now, as soon as I move it, it's actually moving the drum as well, so that actually I think will work really well. There we go. So this belt here drives the rewind mechanism. So when the tape is laced back into the tape cassette itself and then ejected, this belt is actually driven from that down to there. So we need to find one of those. So I've got replacements for both of them, and they're slightly smaller. One actually says it was a Panasonic belt, but it's pretty much the same cross section. And again, you just check to see which one is the loosest when you loop them around your fingers, and that seems to work. So this is nearly ready to go in down there when I put the other cog in place. So I think that's good. There we go. Let's put this mechanism back together. There we go. That's near enough back in. Then I can put this little tiny plastic washer back in. Okay, so that is pretty much back into place. That's ready to go. There we go. That's really nice. That's nice and taut. That needs to go back in there. Then the clip goes on. That's clean. We can put this into that. The belt will be slightly loose because it's not in its right place. And that is in there. Now this belt is not seated correctly up top, that's why it's a bit loose. Everything in place. All ready to go. So let's turn our attention back to the other side. Okay, so I've managed to get the belts in. I had to come off camera because it was just being too fiddly. I've got the belt that actually runs up to the take-up spooler, and that is used for when the video recorder is ejecting and it wants to take all this tape back into the case. I've got the other drive belt also sorted. This is back into place. The ring is back into, is nice and solid again. Let's try this thing out. Let's plug in and see what happens. So, power's applied. I need a tape. Let's use, oh god, I've lost a tape. Oh, there we go. Let's use the Captain Scarlet one. And then let's see what happens. Something's wrong. It didn't want to go all the way around. Let's see what we get. What's it catching on? I've got to turn this round and have a look myself. Oh, I see why. I see why. The whole thing has popped out. So that needs to go in there like that. Let's just turn the power off so I don't zap myself. So the little roller has popped out of its little mounting here. And then we put that in. Okay, let's try again. Turn on. Yay! That's good. Right, let's put a tape in. See what happens. Well, it's certainly taken the tape in. That all looks good. Right, let's have a look at what it looks like on the TV. Okay, so we've got the TV on. Press play. Yeah, we know about that. Yep, the control track on this tape is a little bit damaged at this part of the tape. I think it was another video recorder that did it, not this one. Let's try another tape. Let's try the Star Trek tape. That's very slow. Seems pretty happy.
Sir, my first assignment was in weapons control. So, Lieutenant Uhura, take over navigation.
Yep, that's good. Finally, after some fiddling, I managed to get the whole thing back into time. And we get a... yeah, we get a picture. And it also ejects as well. It's a little slow, but it's working. That's the main thing. Yeah, it was the timing of the whole mechanism here. I got it slightly out, and it's actually this mechanism here that when the actual ring goes round, it was that there is supposed to basically release the drive to the ring itself when it gets to a certain point. There's a little micro switch there as well, which turns off the motor. That was slightly out of time, and that's generally what was going on. But yeah, it's fine. It's back up and running. I think the next thing we're going to do is take the carriage out here and actually have a look at all of the idler tyres on the spools and also the interconnecting idler tyres as well, and clean them up, and hopefully that should make it a little bit faster, rewinding, fast forwarding, and all sorts of stuff like that. So it's pretty straightforward. We've got 4 screws here, well actually 3 because somebody's already had this out. We've also got this bar across here, so we need to take that out first. There we go. This just has a little flap there to prevent anything getting into some of the diodes and the transistors on this servo control board here. So we take those out here. Somebody has mangled this quite a bit, these screws, so yeah, this is not a virgin machine. It's had quite a bit of work done to it in the past, and I've got a funny feeling that this was in the hands of somebody who collected them or did something with them, I think. Right, there we go. So we've now got the tape carriage out, and we can actually see some of the, again, we've got the drive belt there. That feels okay-ish. That should survive okay. But we've got these idler tyres here, and they all need cleaning and sorting out. We have the main drive here, and we've got a belt here which also looks a little bit suspect, so we can take that out and have a look. Yeah, so we might have something which might go in. Let's see what we can do. So let's take that out there like that and pull that around. So yeah, this is looking a bit suspect. We've got one here, might work, it needs a good clean up. So let's get the isopropanol out and see what we can do. So let's clean these up. Yeah, there's quite a bit of crap coming out of these. All of these idler. Now, one route, if these tyres have got a problem, and so these tyres here, there is one temporary solution, which is actually peel them off of the actual idler plastic wheel and invert them, so physically turn them inside out. So I've got one here, and what you do is you physically invert the whole. It's actually quite difficult on something. Let me find something a little bit bigger. Here we go. Something like that. So imagine that was down there. You actually physically invert the whole tyre, so you've got fresh material on the outside. It is a temporary solution, so yeah, that's how it should be, and it's a bit crap. There, if you actually invert them and physically turn them sort of inside out, so to speak, you get fresh material on there, and also all the cracks are on the inside rather than on the outside. It is temporary. It will get the machine up and running. Yeah, it's not exactly a solution. Again, one here, I've got a smaller one here. You just physically invert them. Once they're like that, they're actually really difficult to get back on, so it can be a little bit of a pain. This one looks like it even came from a C7 or something like that, which is the same, generally the same mechanism here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to clean these idlers tyres up, because they don't look in too bad a condition. So here we go. This is the tyre that goes around the actual spool itself, and it's pretty worn out on that side. So what we can do is just invert it, and we've got fresh material. So that getting it back on is a pain in the backside, because they often want to re-invert back in, because they've been like that for decades. So if I just gently, there we go, belt from the counter to that spool. I've inverted that one. Do I want to invert the other ones? I think I might not. I'm going to see what how this performs. All right. I'm going to use a new technique, which I've been trying out, which is to use an engraver with basically a rough. So it's basically an engraver with a rough edge, and if you actually put it at a very slight angle to the idler tyre, turn it on, it goes slightly faster than the actual tyre and just roughs up the whole surface. Let's try that one. Oh, that's much better. Let's try it. Let's put the carriage back. I can untangle it from all of the weird belts everywhere. Now, the position of the carriage itself on some machines is quite critical. I'm not so sure about these ones. I don't think they are. I think you've got to sort of generally get it in the ballpark. And then tighten it down. Let's try rewind. Fast forward. So yeah, that looks pretty good. I've had to play around with the rubber drive bands a little bit. The band I put on there was a little bit too tight, and it required more torque. The motor, the head motor, actually required more torque to actually turn all the mechanisms. I've done also the same for the counter belt that goes around the take-up spool, and it seems to be running quite nicely. The rewind is now at an acceptable speed, and especially on a tight tape, a tape where the actual the magnetic tape has actually wound itself on and is actually quite sticky, or quite a lot of torque to actually rewind it when it's in all laced up. So yeah, I'm just literally just doing a fast forward and a rewind on this, and I think we're nearly there. I'm not going to replace those capacitors just yet. The little Sanyo ones, the little light blue ones, just yet. I'm going to let it run for a little while and leave it like that. So once this has done a fast forward and a rewind, I'm going to put it back together again, and then I think we're going to put it on test. I want to see what it is. What happens? I can't find a date. There is actually a stamp up there on the casting, but I can't necessarily see it. And again, all of the mechanism down there has been retimed, and that's working quite nicely. Yeah, this is a relatively clean deck. It's just age-related issues with this, rather than anything abuse or neglect as such. So right, let's wait for this to fast forward, rewind, and see how quickly it does it, and then put it back together again. Seems to be absolutely flying along now on rewind. So we got rid of some of the torque issues within the tight belts, and yep, it's rewinding absolutely fine now. There we go. Managed to break the flap as I was turning it over. The flap actually popped open and I didn't notice, and so I need to fix that, but I need all the parts.
Put me through to Captain John Daly of the Astral Queen on Orbit Station, and put it on scramble. Mama.
Then you do it.
Got me backed into a corner. The men would never forgive me if I deprived them of your performance. My memory needs refreshing, Mr. Spock. I'll ask you for it. In the meantime, follow my orders.
So I've managed to glue it all back together again. Let's hope that that holds. I'm just kicking myself there. And again, the flap basically opened, and as I turned the video recorder on its side, it got shunted to one side and broke the hinges. All the parts were there, so hopefully I fixed this and it's all good. So the video recorder's all back together again. Managed to fix the flap here, and that's all really nice. That's cured overnight, and that's back in place. Yeah, everything all is working absolutely fine on this machine. I'm gonna put it up into my collection. maybe try to find better cosmetic version of it and nick bits off of it. But the next step for this is the clock refurbishment, and basically get all of the buttons working on that. But yeah, I'm very glad I got this machine. Sounds like Jack is giving it some large out there. Jack! What are you doing up there? Hey? What are you doing? What are you doing out there? What? Yes? Yeah, don't you give me that. Go on in. There we go. Yeah. All that noise. All that noise. Hey? Yeah, I know. Smelly breath. Right, you. Down you go. Yeah, so, thanks for watching. Please like, share, subscribe if you like these type of videos. And I'll see you on the next video.